and now I'm telling you, don't talk about it. So let me grab your attention for 1 minute, and then trust me, this isn't going to be long and long-winded. Thank you so much for being here. Our meetings officially start at 6 o'clock, so it is a great privilege to do this. We are thrilled by the support of the people that come to our events. Thank you so much. We've got lots of stuff planned. We're going to go through some of them here in our quick announcements and such, but one of the things that I did want to say, how are you, sir? What's up? One of the things I did want to say is most of the things that we do, event-wise and investigation stuff, generally come because somebody said, hey, you should do this, right? Or would it be great if we could do this? Or could you learn more about this? So I want to make sure that everyone realizes that if you've got an idea, no matter how seemingly outlandish it may seem to you, please share it with us. There's always probably a good way that we can figure out a way to do it, investigate it, do some research. We've got some wonderful researchers that are now kind of working with us as well that can really, really dive deep into the things that we're doing. So first and foremost, thank you so much. Again, if it's something that you want, trust me, we'll do everything we can to figure it out. I want to make sure that I don't miss anything because I'm old and don't remember stuff. All right, so if you haven't had a chance to check with our vendors, please do that as well. Now, one of the things we try to do is at least get 2 good, solid, quality people here that are going to have paranormal-ish types of things that you might be interested in. However, if there is something that you would like that either they don't have or you would like to have, tell us. We're now going to start to develop an inventory of certain things that we can make available ourselves. It isn't a profit center for us because we're not going to make a profit. We'll just turn around whatever our cost is because we want you to have as much diagnostic equipment at hand that you can bring to the investigations that we do. Because many hands make light work. So thank you so much to our vendors. The information table, so if you get a chance, you probably would have stopped in here and at least checked in when you first, if you hadn't checked it online, please sign in again. That gives us the opportunity to know who you are, where you are, how we can reach you. And again, if you're not on our newsletter distribution list, you really want to. That's kind of like square one to make sure that you're abreast of all the things that we're doing. And I will tell you that our calendar is really, really going to be filled. One of the things we've always talked about is, our group will be known by what we do, not by what we say. So don't be surprised if literally every single week there might be something that is available to you. Now, it's not obligatory. You certainly don't have to do it, but we want to make sure that we have a good inventory of things to do. That being said, for the people that are leaders and volunteers, can you just stand up? I want to make sure that if anybody has a question, so thank you so much. By the way, we should say hi to Chelsea. Chelsea just volunteered to be our volunteer coordinator. Yes, thank you, Chelsea. I always say, be very careful because if you have a suggestion and you bring it to me, in my mind, you're also volunteering to take a lead role in that. So if you have an idea, you tell me. I'm like, that's great, you're running it. All right? But for those that are interested, many of which I've already reached out to myself, please connect up with Chelsea. She'll get your name and phone number, and then she'll be the loop that you'll be able to get disseminated all the information. We've got Erin in the back. We've got Karen right here, which, by the way, she is our book club queen. If you've not been to our ever-growing book club, I absolutely encourage you to do that. It is not only is it growing, but it's absolutely wonderful. We've also got Karen Hill. She is the local Tucson MUFON representative. If you've got anything happening in the world of the extraterrestrial, there's a very good chance she's going to be involved with it. Gail, who is our starseed expert, thank you so much, Gail. And just moving around, we've got Kata on the end. And for those that don't know me, I'm Gonzalez. I was one of the co-founders of the Tucson Paranormal Society. Let me keep going here. All of our past guests, so anybody who's been a past guest or anything like that, we've got one here in the room. I think, who else has been a guest? You've been at one of our guests on our conference calls. If you would like, every Monday at 10 o'clock, we do a conference call. There's no cost, there's no obligation, it's a half-hour call. But it's a lot of fun because it really gives us the mechanism to do a deep dive. So if you've had an experience that you would like to share, and I've got people that have done it anonymously, so if you don't want to share your name, information about you, we're totally cool about that. But that's a great way to tell your story because it's a good chance that for every one person that says something, there might be 10 other people that had the exact same circumstance, and for whatever reason, they didn't feel comfortable in sharing it. So we do our conference call. We have wonderful magazines David's going to talk about in a second as well, so if you haven't seen that, I want you to do that. Events. You're going to see a lot of them coming out. I'm going to kind of give you the Sniglet tour coming up. In June, we're going to be at the 22nd Street Antique Mall. So for those that do not know that, right, it actually purports itself. So if you go to their banner, you see their ads on television. What does it say? The most haunted mall in Tucson. Now, we're not going there to prove it. All right, they believe it is, and we have every reason to believe it is as well. David will certainly be leading that in our ghost investigation. We're also going to be at Old Tucson. All right, that's going to be very large, so we're probably going to need between 20 and 40 people. So if you're interested, right now it looks like it's going to be in July, but that will probably be an uncharacteristically late one just because of temperature. Right, around 10 or 11 o'clock it becomes more bearable outside than it is at 7 o'clock. So if you're interested in Old Tucson, please go to Chelsea. If you're interested in the Steam Pump Ranch, so for anybody who lives kind of north in the Oro Valley and Marana area, Steam Pump Ranch right on Oracle Road, again, purported to be haunted. We're going to be doing a UFO hunt on, I believe it's the 24th of May. It's going to be at the Encanton apartment complex, so we're going to have food and speakers and games and prizes that we've done before. We have other stuff too, but I can't remember it all. But what I would suggest, again, when you get your newsletter, read it. We're going to make sure that we disseminate everything. That's right. Thank you, David. By the way, if anybody remembers something that I don't remember, jump right in. So I believe it's the 31st of May. So the 31st of May, there's a ghost walking tour. It starts at the Congress Hotel. The first one starts at 6:30. The second one starts at 8:30. Now, we are partnering with the Freaky Foot Ghost Tour. So you'll actually go on their website. You'll actually pay them. It's $25 for the tour. However, if you identify yourself as a TPS member, right, or associated with Tucson Paranormal Society, you will get both tours, the 6:30 walking tour and the 8:30 walking tour, because we're trying to build in each individual tour. The first one will be about a half-hour investigation of the Rialto Theater. The second one at 8:30 will be about a half-hour investigation of the Fox Theater. So the goal will be, not only are we going to do a very interesting walking tour in the downtown area, talking about some of the supposedly haunted spots, we're actually going to have a chance to go in and physically invest a little time and spend a little time there. So that's why we strongly encourage you to get equipment, whether it's something simple like an EMF meter, or a digital recorder, or an Ovilus, or, I mean, there's so many simple things that are virtually no cost out there, but they're great diagnostic tours when it comes to ghost hunting. So anything else, David? On the long range planning. So this is going to be for September, and this will probably be our biggest one to date. It's going to be up on Mount Lemmon, and it's going to be a cryptid hunt. So there has been consistently purported activity of Bigfoot. I'm not saying there is or it isn't. We're going up there to see, right? But there has been consistent activity not only through the Native American population, but actual sightings. One by Rose Canyon Lake, one that was in Summer Haven, and one was in the KOA campground at Rose Canyon Lake. These are three separate people, not connected in any way, separate form. So our plan is going to be, for those that are interested and hardy and like the camp, we've got 2 thermal drones that are professional, about half the size of this table behind me, that we're going to send up. They're not line of sight, so we can go 22 miles back, each way in 2 different grid patterns. So if you look at the Catalina Mountains, and if you get a chance, I really encourage you to do that, if you're interested in joining us for this. Right now, we have to work with, so right now we've got to work with the campground. We also have to work with Arizona Fish and Game. Because apparently there is some issue about putting a giant car-sized drone up in the air over where people are. I know. But you know what? We're rule followers. We're going to play by the rules. But the plan is that we would have 2 thermal drones, one going to right grid, one going to left grid. They're going to go somewhere about 22 miles back. If you see the Google Earth of the Catalina Mountains, it's 8 miles wide and 33 miles long. You're talking hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of thousands of acres. And if I was a Bigfoot, that's where I'd want to go. It's never too hot, never too cold. You got ample water, you got lots of game, and you also have a historic Native American sighting going back thousands of years. So our researchers are actually going to be going in, and they're going to be delving in deeper on that, so we're going to make sure that we give you good, solid information. Again, if you're interested, please reach out to Chelsea, at least so we can kind of create the list. What we really need a lot of is hardy campers. because the way that the campground is set, there's a section of it that just faces the hundreds of thousands of acres of public land. So the plan will be set up static cameras along the back, set up night vision cameras along the back, set up thermal cameras along the back, and just let it run. And it'll make a lot of noise.
You were here to do that.
Because
Comic Con also.
oh, thank you, David. I said I'm old, I don't remember things. All right, this is another thing if you want to be involved. This will be another thing, there'll be a lot of volunteers. So are you familiar with the Tucson Comic-Con?
Yes.
Okay, so over Labor Day weekend, last year over Labor Day weekend, 22,000 people went to the Tucson Convention Center. We were blessed that we were asked to be one of the panels that was there because there's such a connection between the people that like science fiction and comics and clearly the paranormal as well. So we've been offered to put our Paracon inside of the Tucson Comic-Con. So we're going to have our own hallway. We've got room right now for 25 tables. So if you are a person that's interested in getting in front of tens of thousands of people with whatever paranormal you are, this is the place you're going to do it. Now you can go on the Tucson Comic-Con website. They would be able to instruct you to the Paracon part of it. Right now, scheduled as speakers, so those that are familiar with the UFO community, Nick Pope, who is one of the ancient aliens, he's going to be speaking. Patty Negri, who is one of professed witch of her own. She's always done all the major paranormal shows and such. We're trying to get Travis Walton. So anybody who knows Travis Walton in the UFO community, yeah, but I'm trying to get his phone number. Everybody have his phone number? Right? No, really, because we exchanged some emails back and forth, but I think the guy's afraid of actually talking. So yeah, so if anybody has that, I'll certainly take that as well. But it's going to be Labor Day weekend. It's going to be our Paracon inside of the Tucson Comic-Con. Again, if you are interested in a table, we're not selling them. Tucson Comic-Con is selling. We'd be actually going on their website and doing it. But it will be the way to get it in thousands and thousands of people. And if you weren't there in the last couple of years, you really want to go. It really is a great spectacle. It was a hell of a lot of fun.
I was hypnotized, just throwing that in there, at the Comic-Con.
You were?
Just letting you know.
Okay. All right. Well, that might be a perfect opportunity for you guys. So anyway, so keep that on there. Again, as this is, watch your newsletters. When it comes, don't just delete it out. Actually get into it, take a look at it. It's going to have a lot of information on it. Most specifically, what you want to do to be involved in any of these things. And I will tell you that almost everything we do has little or no cost. It's not a profit center. If we have any expenses, it's just to cover whatever our expenses. Well, thank you so much. It's a privilege to do what we do. Again, we thank you so much for being here.
Karen.
Oh, yes, Karen.
Could I interrupt and speak for a moment?
I would love for you to interrupt.
And also a start.
No, please do.
Thanks.
Please do.
I am the book club lady. I was a kindergarten teacher. I would love to read this to you, but I have a feeling there's not a lot of pages about that right now. I could hypnotize you with this book. Learners all the time. It was so much fun. Don't tell the parents. The book club is not one where I say, hey, go spend $40 and buy the same book. You bring what you're reading. I have a handful of odds and ends. It could be something you read 10 years ago and you're going to pick it up and read it again. It could be something you didn't read yet, but you want to. We talk about whatever is important to you. It might be books, it might be experiences, it might be podcasts, it might be sightings. So we meet the second Tuesday of the month at Arsenal Cafe. Come on down and you have questions and see me. And now,
Yes, please.
thank you.
So, my name is Gail Brock, and I am a facilitator for a Starseed group. I'm Gail Brock, and I have a Starseed group. I was told in November of 2023 that this is my mission. I needed to pull Starseeds together. Starseeds do, anybody here not know what a Starseed is? You all know?
I'm not sure. Can you
Oh, well, starseeds are souls with origins that are beyond this earth. And we came here, we signed up to come here to help with the ascension. Now I have a handout here that if you're wondering, am I a starseed? There's like 6 main ones, but there's many more. Like, do you ever look at the stars and go, oh, that's home? Or have you ever felt like you didn't fit in? These are several traits. So we have a meeting every month, and I have cards here that will take you right to the new page and tell you where we're meeting. And if you have any questions, I'm here to chat, and thank you very much.
No, thank you. It's very, and the people that have gone absolutely love it, so thank you so much. Those that don't know, by the way, we also have a magazine, Arizona Paranormal Times. We are also blessed with not only one of our leaders being involved, but also the publisher here as well, Mr. David Smith. Hey, David!
So, has everyone received this copy this month? Is there anybody who did not get it? Everybody got it?
Did you not?
Okay.
Are you on the distribution list? Yeah, you are.
If you did not receive the magazine, then you should probably check with Kata and make sure she gets your email to get it.
It's an email magazine, right?
Digital.
For now, yes.
Digital.
It's a digital magazine
Right
for
now,
now.
it's a digital magazine, it comes out every quarter, every 3 months.
Yeah.
All right, now, we,
Hold on.
You need to go to the website for the magazine and sign up because it's not connected to the TPS.com. So,
Right.
but it'll be listed in the
Yes.
newsletters you send out.
Yeah,
I
Okay.
hope so.
yeah,
Yeah, we hope
So- yeah. And if anybody would like, just to make it very easy as well, if you go, we're working on our technology, by the way. Michael is literally kicking us and dragging us into this. But if you'd like, if you go to my Facebook for Don Zamis, all of the things that we're talking about are there. So if you just scroll through my posts, you'll see access to the flip stack for the magazine, promos for all the events that we're doing. And again, you can also go to our Facebook as well. Because it's there too.
It's called Arizona Paranormal Times, and the website for that is the same thing, ArizonaParanormalTimes.com. That has all the previous issues. You can go and see all the other 8 issues that we did. So we've been doing this for 2 years, and up to now, it's been free. I've been doing it for the 2 years, but this month, for this magazine, I had to hire somebody to help me do it. I had Karen help me. But between her and everything else, we spent a couple $100, just for that. So it's getting to the point where we can't do it free anymore. And we don't have enough advertising to really subsidize all the expenses involved. So we're gonna try something different. Beginning this summer, for the summer issue in July, we're gonna start it as a subscription magazine. It'll be $17.99 for the year, for 4 issues. But to help everybody out, this is what we're doing. This will be a fundraiser, and also, to help you out, it's gonna be a writing contest. Now, I've got a black flyer on each of the tables, and I've got more of them up here on these tables, if you wanna look at it afterwards. It's also in the magazine, and it's at the website. I want to just briefly tell you about it, and see if you have any questions or recommendations. 5 minutes is all I'm gonna take. So, the way it's gonna work is, it starts April 20th, it ends May 20th. So you got 1 month, if you wanna do the contest, there's a $50 prize for the best entry. For July, you can be on anything paranormal, anything you wanna write about. Minimum 400 words, maximum 800 words. Anything you wanna write about, you go to the Arizona ParanormalTimes.com website. There's a box, you'll put in your name, the article you wanna write about, and tell a little bit about it, what it's gonna be about. There'll be a payment button where you can pay $7.99. Now, by doing this, you're gonna get a free subscription for the whole year. So you'll get the whole subscription for that $7.99. You'll be able to register for the $50 prize, and with your permission, we'll put you in a book in 2026. We'll create a Tucson Paranormal book. It'll have your name and your article, so you'll be listed as a published author. So for that $7.99, you're gonna get 3 things: free year subscription, chance for the $50 prize, and your name and your article in a published book. So that's a pretty good deal, I think. Now, for the next issue in October, we're gonna have another contest also with the $50 prize. That submission is only $3.99. So that one does not include the subscription to the magazine. But if you wanna do that one is gonna be, you're gonna get the $50 prize. And I think it's gonna be a personal experience. You write about a personal experience you had. For the third issue, the topic is going to be a short story. It can be a fictional story or a real life story. And then for the fourth issue, it's going to be about a paranormal legend, preferably Arizona. But some kind of legend that you've heard about or researched. The only thing we ask is that you don't plagiarize someone else's article off the internet, and that you don't make it a totally an AI related article. You can use AI for your research and things, but don't ask AI to write the article for you. And we'd like you to submit one photograph at least. If you don't have a photograph, you don't have to send one, but if you don't send a photograph, I'll create one for you. But send a photograph, a headshot, a bio about yourself, if you want to, but remember that the words for the bio are one of your word count. So it's 800 maximum words. So if you have a good bio, some people send me their bios and it's bigger than the article. So,
And in third grade, I got perfect attendance.
yeah, all the
Yes.
instruction on the website. Yeah, my question is, I'll stop here. Does anyone have a question right off the bat?
Yeah.
It's really good.
It's springtime. God is there.
Springtime.
Yes. I have a big picture of Bigfoot as a goddess.
That's okay, I think Karen has something to say.
My question, can you remind us, what's the date for the first submission?
It starts April 20th, it ends May 20th.
Thank you.
Yeah. So 5 months, you got 1 month, and because it's a contest, we're gonna be strict on that. So it's a contest, so it ends May 20th. Now, if you wanna submit an article without being in the contest, that's fine. Just when you submit it, tell me, and say this is not for the contest. But all the articles go to Arizona Paranormal Times at gmail.com. It's all very easy to remember. And the instructions are all on the website.
And David, they don't have to be a professional writer, they can be an amateur.
It's actually called an amateur paranormal article writing contest. And so if you have any questions, just feel free to see me. You can reach me at Arizona Paranormal Times at gmail.com or whatever. There's a phone number in here also. All right, thank you very much.
Excellent, thank you, David. Okay, thanks, David. And by the way, if you have any questions about anything, if you go to TucsonParanormalSociety.com, it has a contact us page. So any questions that you have about anything, if you can't remember dates and times and names and things that are going on, that's your go-to. It goes to one of us, and I will absolutely promise we will get back with you as promptly as we possibly can. So it's very, very easy to get. If you can't remember something, or something that you met here, or something that you heard, that's a very simple way for us to do that. So, Cut, I'm going to hand you this, and we're going to bring up our speaker for today. There you go. If you had the chance, has anybody had a chance to listen to our conference call? If you haven't, I really do encourage you to do that. It's available, certainly, and the website is available on my site as well. Inside Tucson Paranormal, and the goal is it's every Monday at 10 o'clock. There's no cost, there's no obligation. We, promote all the call-in numbers and access numbers and everything like that. But it gives us the opportunity to do a deeper dive on somebody that really has a fascinating story. And I'm amazed by what rich content of experiences are here, just in kind of our little community that we have here. And I had the absolute good fortune of doing a recent call with Colleen. What she talks about, so we did a survey, I think over the last couple of months you may have participated. And we just kind of asked everybody, what would you like to see? What would you like us to do more of? And one of the things that came up is regression. Everybody's wondering, did I really see something in the sky? Right? Did I see something out of the corner of my eye? And it's amazing how strong that desire for evidence is. Now, we don't require evidence in our world, right? To some people, no evidence is required. To some people, no evidence is enough. Right? So the way we're looking at it is, we are, seeking to explain the unexplainable. But Colleen and her associates did such a wonderful, wonderful job, and they were they come from Phoenix, so they traveled a bit to get here. So make them feel really, really welcome. It was such a wonderful show, and I think you're in for an absolutely outstanding conversation. There you go.
Don,
Yeah.
I need you to move the microphone.
Oh, yes. There you go, Colleen.
So Unless we.
Oh,
Yeah, well, I'm gonna let you pick a side.
okay. Alright, so you just go like that.
Yep.
And do you turn it on?
It should be on now.
Are you gonna use?
Are we on, Michael?
Testing, 1, 2, 3,
I'm here.
So,
Well, you won't hear through that, it's only for the recorder.
Oh, okay.
Okay, yes, we're good.
You want this on? Yeah.
It's on if you want.
Okay.
You just have to speak and go close to the microphone.
It's a little bit twisted on the screen, and I apologize for that, but somehow that's gonna come through. Can everybody hear me okay?
Yeah, yes.
Alright, good. So, man, I wish we had this group in Phoenix.
Well, remember how I said be careful what you wish for? So I think we volunteer, Colleen. Anyone want a second? Second, Chelsea seconded. You're it.
Okay, we'll look into this, because this is really a fun group, and I got a chance to meet some of you before we started here, and I do wish you were up there. So my name is Colleen Hitchcock. I'm a board certified hypnotist, a certified clinical hypnotherapist, master hypnotist, and a certified instructor. So I train and certify hypnotists also. And what I want to talk about today is how we can use hypnosis for regression. And also, when we do regression, a lot of times we think of, for an event, we would do an age regression. So it's something that would happen in this lifetime. And then there's past life regression, which is something that would happen in a previous lifetime. And then sometimes there is the time between lives, which is the time in between those. So I'm gonna kind of mention all of those. I'm gonna share some of my background a little bit with you and to tell you how I got here. And then I'm gonna also share some personal paranormal experiences that I've had. So I wanna thank you. I saw this picture and I thought it sort of reminded me of Ellie. And what I like most is there's a little tiny bit of hair in the middle one, right? And a wrinkly neck, from all that, but Susie told me he was a hybrid, so we're happy to visit. So thank you for the invitation very much. I want to talk a little bit about hypnosis and understanding what hypnosis is and what it's not. Just if I could ask the room, has anybody here been hypnotized? So several of you have been hypnotized, okay. So I would like to share that with you. My background is I'm from Minneapolis originally. I graduated from Minnesota State University with a degree in education, and I became a stockbroker afterwards, after teaching a little while. And then I went to work for a Fortune 10 company at the time, Control Data, as a sales manager, and I was hired away by a Boston management consulting company. So I ended up doing corporate culture changes on Fortune 100 companies. So I worked with General Mills, Pillsbury, Coors, Martin Marietta, a number of folks out there in big companies. And it was hard to turn and change large corporations. But what I really love about hypnosis in comparison to that is that we can make change very quickly. People stopping bad habits, quitting smoking that changes their lives after they've been smoking 50, 60 years, or over drinking, or weaning off of medications that are impacting their life, or any number of other issues. So I became a regional manager, and then I founded my own publishing company. And when I did that, I started it in my basement, and I grew it to 5,000 stores in 33 countries. Wow.
And then sold that, and along the way, I wrote something, and it kind of goes back to this experience that I had. But somebody saw some writing of mine, Tom Clancy. He told me I wrote in a perfect pen, and he said I should be writing. So I picked up, sold my business, went to LA, became a screenwriter and a songwriter and so forth. And then my mother became ill. I moved back to Minnesota to take care of her and also started writing at home. I worked on websites and I just ghost wrote and became a Simon & Schuster author. And then my ghostwriting company, by the way, was called MissGhost.com. So I'm just gonna share this with you. If anybody wants to get on our mailing list, and I would love to have a Tucson Paranormal, so we offer you some specials and things like that. If you go to MissGhost.com, I just have a landing page there. You can put your name and information in, and I would be happy
send you some deals that we have from time to time. So, when I moved down, I sat home for a long time and I was writing. And what happens is you become very reclusive and you don't connect with people as much. And I found I would go out and then I would go, oh, people suck. And I go back home. And when you get to that point where you think people suck, it's really time to make a huge change. So I moved down to Phoenix and I thought I gotta do something different. So I had areas of interest and I kind of consider myself a perpetual student. So I got my PI license and then I got my real estate license because I figured I'd buy property sometime. And then I became a certified hypnotist because back in when I was 8, my mother got this little pamphlet and she said my feet were like sand and you like geography. Literally, that's what she told me, and because I was doing badly in geography, and I became an A student in it. So I started paying attention to it. When I got married, my husband came back from Vietnam, smoking 3 packs a day, and he went to a hypnotist and quit like that. So I started really paying attention to hypnosis, and after that I started doing it for friends. There were turning points in their life. Maybe they quit a job, or maybe they broke up with somebody and their life was changing, or divorced, that kind of thing. So I had no intention of doing anything with this. I was actually doing 8 websites for a company out of Minnesota, and they were paying me regularly, and I was making okay money, and so I didn't ever think about starting this as a business until one day I had a worker that hurt his back and dropped on my floor. And he said, oh, last time I did this, I was out of work for 6 months. And I said, oh, let me try something. So did a little session on him, he stood up and he said, God, he still didn't hurt. He said, you should open up a shop because there are people that can't support their families because they're in a lot of pain and they can't work. And so he worked for me for the next week. And every day he said, Colleen, you should open up a shop. You should open up a shop. Well, I didn't still have any intention of doing that. And then I heard about a program that they were doing at Banner Estrella Medical Center in Phoenix. And what they were doing is having hypnotists come in and they would give you a badge and you could go to any department that you wanted to. They basically say, there's the emergency room and here's kidney dialysis and here's the general population, here's ICU. You could go wherever you wanted to, pediatrics and so forth. And I gravitated towards the emergency room. I loved being able to go into a room and I didn't know what was wrong with them and have to think fast on my feet. It could be somebody just attempted suicide. It could be heroin withdrawal. It could be somebody that was had a water slide accident. I did a 550-pound man with a 40-pound tumor. I did a baby that was having multiple seizures every day. So it gave me a wonderful experience to kind of see the power of hypnosis. I remember a doctor as a joke sent me in to deal with a person that was in a coma. And as I was doing something with them where I was clearing their body, they were totally jaundiced, very yellow from cirrhosis of the liver, yellow eyes and all of this. And as I was doing hypnosis, I literally was washing this away. And literally they became normal skin. I watched this go through their body. And then I don't know why I said this, because I was pretty new doing this. But I said, you know, I'm gonna be gone about 20 minutes. Just talk to her. I told the loved ones to just talk to her. They said, what do we say? I said, tell her you love her, tell her about the day, tell her about the dog, memories that you have. And so, so they did, and I came back in 20 minutes later and she woke up, just like that. And I went over to tell her what I had done and she said, she knew exactly what I had done. She said, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. The next week, there was a doctor waiting for me with somebody else in a coma. And I managed to take him out of the coma also and do that a few other times. And one day, I was told by 6 or 7 people that day, they said, oh my God, you're the best thing in the hospital. And I walked out and I knew I had $125 in my checking account. And I looked at my car and needed a new car. And everybody seemed to have a new car in the lot. So I thought maybe I should do something different. So, big investment here. I bought an $80 desk at Walmart. I bought a $300 chair at Home Goods. I hung up my license, got a little room for less than $175 a month, and I started. And it just grew. And so I ended up with 5 offices on Scottsdale Road, and now I've downsized to the unit or place where I have right now. And I love what I do because I see big change in people whenever they're coming through. They come back and say, hey, I'm still not smoking for 6 years or whatever. It's really rewarding. So this is what my office looks like now, only not as squishy. Not that
4 feet
small.
wide.
You kind of walk to the path on the right side, and then that's the front of the building. I'm just gonna briefly show you what it looks like. We have it set up so that we can do small group or family type workshops, and we're doing more and more of that kind of thing. And along with me today, I have two of my colleagues, Susan Larson and Ellie Hayes. Both of them are doing it.
You're good friends.
Yes. Susan is doing a lot of past life regressions and is enjoying that, so is Ellie also. And Ellie and I also worked on something called the Rockstar Skinny Experience. Ellie was actually a rock star who toured for 10 years with the band DeLuca. She was the lead singer. And so I said, there has to be something for Rockstar Skinny now. To me, that doesn't mean doing a lot of Red Bull and doing lots of Coke.
But we are willing to learn.
Yes. Exactly, but it is about quitting junk and learning to eat healthy and learning to love eating healthy, because that's one of the tricks, I think, of it. So, we do a lot of different things. One of the boards that we have up here, I'm just gonna briefly go over this. Everybody thinks about hypnosis for smoking, weight loss, stress, anxiety, that kind of thing, but there's really a lot more. I think because of the medical experience I had with Ed Banner, working with someone that has Parkinson's or is pain, even people that can't walk, people that have fibromyalgia that are in wheelchairs and all sorts of things are helped by hypnosis. So fears, phobias, claustrophobia, fear of flying are common ones, and I work a lot with over-drinking and have written a book for hypnotists on over-drinking and addictions and abuse. Another thing is just abuse. If you've been from an abusive background, that idea of revisiting really briefly, how we're different than a therapist. A therapist might talk about it a long time. We go back and we do a session that might revisit, might let that child, that your younger self know that everything's gonna be okay, that when you grow up, you're gonna be safe and have a good life. And when you reassure that and let that go and realize that the point where you are right now going forward is, is the most powerful point you can be in, then you can move on and accomplish a lot more. So every once in a while I had somebody that came in that was date raped, and when she was 19, and so for 20 years she'd gone to a therapist every week for 20 years talking about that rape. And that just gives a lot of power to the abuser as far as I'm concerned. Okay, so we do training and past life regression, which I mentioned. A lot of times people are coming in now, heartbreak, they're stuck after a breakup or divorce or something like that, just moving on, and also you can use hypnosis for coaching, life coaching, anything, where you're being coached, but also using hypnosis to achieve more confidence or, something like that. So I just wanna mention, I guess, all of these different things. You can see them up on there. Pre and post surgery makes a huge difference. So I want to get into paranormal investigation. A lot of times when we think of paranormal investigation, and in fact the masses and the public are going to think of the Ghostbusters, the guys that come out and that are testing temperature and seeing if there's any kind of on their meters or readers, any kind of change or whatever in the environment. But there's really so much more to paranormal than that. So a lot of times when I'm defining paranormal, I think of it as often as a spiritual, sometimes psychic, extraterrestrial, kind of a dimensional sighting or experience, anything beyond normal scientific explanation. So the important part of anything that anybody experiences is that each experience is valid and it's deeply personal to them. So I had someone, for instance, that came to me. Well, let me just say, an example would be a UFO sighting, of course. More intense might be an abduction. or a walk-in, or a ghost experience, something in the room, yeah. And it can be some kind of a lucid dream experience that you feel really deeply also. So there's lots of different types, as I mentioned here. Ghost sightings and hauntings are one. Objects moving or unexplained phenomena. Feeling watched or visited is another one. Near-death experiences, out-of-body experiences, any kind of time slips or dimensional warps, and also extraterrestrial contact, sightings or abduction, psychic dreams, from precognition, telepathy, and past life memories that suddenly spontaneously emerge. So I want to share an experience that I had one time, and I'm going to set the pace of what was going on in my life. I was kind of a six-figure Audi driving Boston management consulting regional manager, and my father became ill. And I was a daddy's girl. I took care of my dad. And right before he was near his, I'd say 3 weeks before he passed, on a Sunday, he said to me, you know, what if there's nothing there, you know, kind of. And I said, well, Dad, you were raised Catholic, so, you know, the Catholic Church, your religion is in heaven. So, and he says, yeah, but nobody really knows. And I said, well, people have had near-death experiences, and they come back and they share with us what that's about. And he said, yeah, but nobody really knows. And he was really lamenting about his life, and he wasn't ready to go, and he didn't want to go. He went into the hospital that day. The next day, when he came out, I knew I had to have somebody come in the house or help him and so forth, because I had to leave for 2 days to go to Colorado. And of course, I felt guilty about that, but I hired a RN to come in and take care of him, and she seemed to know all the tricks. She got along well with my father. I made sure everything was fine. The next day I left and called her that night to check in on him, and then the second night called to check in on how he was doing. And I remember that night in particular, I was staying at the Boulderado Hotel in Boulder, if you know where that is. It looks like this, Boulder. Very nice hotel down here, and it was built in 1909. Very historic, and inside it has these kind of a stairway, and then around that, the railing. There used to be tables there where people would sit and have drinks and talk. It was really kind of a big hangout, so forth. They don't do that now, but that's what it was like in 1987. And the rooms are kind of printed with little prints all over the wallpaper and the bedspread and all of that. And I remember talking to the nurse about my dad, and I went to lay down in the bed, and I was crying. I lay there and turned off my lights, and I was kind of crying. I knew my dad's life was going to be ending soon, and so, and then the room lit up really, really bright. And at the end of my bed, this is as close a picture as I could find here, create on AI, but there were beings like this that had sort of a blue brilliant light around them. It just lit up the room fantastically. They were standing more, not exactly far apart like this, but together like they were family. And I remember not being afraid, feeling a benevolence, kind of, a love, kind of. I felt like my dad was there. For some reason, my dad was in that spiritual group. And I couldn't see my TV. The TV which was across it from the foot of the bed, was now blocked by these beings. And I just remember laying there, and I felt my sort of spirit leave my body and then go back in. And I felt it leave my body and go back in again. And then I felt it leave my body and go back in. And I thought, okay, this must be astrotropic. Okay, I'll do it. I was remember thinking that in my head, and then I was a little scared. Do I do this or not? And then remembering, okay, I'll do it. And then nothing happened. And I laid there thinking for a while, trying to, okay, what do I do now to make that happen again? I'm ready to go, but nothing happened. And then I thought, are my eyes open? And I thought I opened my eyes and everything was gone, and the TV was across from me. So the question is, after something like this happens, who do you talk to? My brother is the corporate guy, and I remember when I told him, I got this like deer in the headlights face, like he wasn't sure whether he should kidnap me or what was going on. But after that, I went back to talk to my dad. And I told him the story that happened. And the phone rang, interrupting us, and I pulled out the phone cord, went around the bed and pulled out the phone cord, and he said, "It's really something, isn't it?" And I said, "What's really something, Dad?" And he said, "You know, it's really something." And I said, "The world?" And he said, "No." He said, "The world's a mess." He says, "You know, it's really something." And after that, he wasn't afraid to die. He was cool with it. He was relaxed about it. The bad part was I stayed around another couple days, and what I found out was that the nurse that we hired she literally stole him. My dad had a 5-bedroom house on the lake. She stole everything out of the house except what was in my dad's closet. And she wrote checks on his account, and she stole money and all this kind of stuff. And on top of that, she drugged my dad with 55 milligrams of Haldol. And so I don't know if anybody knows Haldol, but Haldol was a drug that was created for institutions back in 1962. That if you brought in Arnold Schwarzenegger and he was crazy, you could give him 6 milligrams and it would subdue him. And they had somebody that came in and they gave him 6 milligrams and it killed him. So they started realizing that Haldol creates sudden death in any dosage. So my dad had 55. At the time in 1987, they knew so little about the drug that they thought 140 milligrams would be a fatal dose. Now they know it's a 60 milligrams. I did some research for the next year on this woman and found that she killed 9 vulnerable adults. And I made sure she served some time, but not enough. And I felt guilty. The whole next year, I was reading everything I could on death and dying. And I think this was a gift from my father as I wrote this poem called Ascension. It's funny here now. But I wrote this poem, and this is what Tom Clancy found and put in his books in executive orders and without remorse. And it's been used a lot of different places. It's probably in 150 books or so, and it's been used for 9/11 for Cantor Fitzgerald memorials, and it was put on a bronze scroll and sent to the sea for 230,000 that died in Indonesia from the tsunami, and a number of different things. So I've really been privileged and honored that this has been recognized. It's a very actualized thing, if I can remember it. And if I go while you're still here, know that I live on, vibrating to a different measure behind a thin veil you cannot see through. I wait for the time when we can soar together again, both aware of each other. Until then, whisper my name in your heart, I'll be there. So it was a very actualized thing. It wasn't what I was thinking, no. I was feeling every bit of pain from the loss of my dad, from the guilt of that experience, and so on. So one of the things I wondered about is, why talk about this? I told you my brother kind of looked at me like deer in the headlights, and I look back at this now knowing my brother, he just really didn't know what to say. He didn't have any experience that was similar to this. It wasn't that he was judging me, although I felt that he was, but he didn't have any reference to explain it to. He had never had any kind of experience like this. So why talk about it? Many people carry unexplained, sometimes haunting memories. Paranormal experience can leave somebody feeling confused or fearful. And there's a power in revisiting this experience with compassion and clarity and kind of processing the event of why did it happen to me? Why is this going to happen again? All of those kinds of questions. So the emotional aftermath of a paranormal experience is fear, anxiety, disbelief. What happened? Question. No one's going to believe it. The suppression or even denial of the experience. So this is another experience that I had after this. I actually levitated off my bed. You can see this. And had an experience with this. The reason I'm sharing this, this picture, what I really liked, there's this feeling you're in your room, logically, it's a very lucid thing that's happening. You know that you're in your room, on the other hand, you feel like there's another world outside around you. And this one I've never told to anybody else. So it's like, who do you say? Okay, yeah, so I levitated above the bed and then this happened and that happened. So the question is, was it real or was it imagined? What did it mean? Is there a message in it for me? Is there something I'm supposed to get out of it? Is this gonna happen again? So the role of the subconscious mind that we have is that we store our memories, even the suppressed ones. And that communicates with feelings and dreams and symbols. And that's how the subconscious mind reads. It loves symbols. So no more than the conscious mind allows. It knows more than your conscious mind allows. Hypnosis is a natural focused state of awareness. It's something that we go in and out of all the time during the day. It's that space right when we're waking up in the morning, when we come out of sleep to consciousness. It's when we go from consciousness to sleep. It's that space right between. We also zone out a lot of times during the day. Sometimes when we're staring at something and we daydream. That eye fixation causes us to sort of zone out and go there. Sometimes when we're watching TV too much. Back in the old days when they had more infomercials that we got caught in, you know, we would watch that and the guy would talk about the copper pan. Well, we have pans, but that copper pan, now look how easy the egg slides out. Next thing you know, we're like, what's that 800 number? I'm gonna get the
I have
copper
camera
pan.
photos.
Yeah, well, I have the Brazilian butt lift that's never open. You should open it, it's amazing.
Well, you must go to different channels than I do.
That could be. Alright. So anyway, what I think of it in terms of hypnosis, we all know what meditation is. Meditation can be where you just kind of open yourself to the universe and look for, are you okay?
Yeah, I'm sorry.
When we open ourselves up to the universe to receive something, right? And the same thing with prayer. Prayer can do it, or probably Tai Chi or something like that could accomplish the same thing. What's different about hypnosis is that you're gonna be in that same state, but you're gonna have somebody that's guiding you to help you focus and achieve what it is you want to accomplish. So it's really about achieving some kind of goal. In the case of a regression, it would be that you wanna go back and have some memory around that. So what hypnosis is not, is it's not mind control or sleep. It's not about false memories. One of the things, if you do a regression with a hypnotist, you wanna have somebody that's experienced with this, because you don't want them leading you in any way. You know, were you afraid when that happened, or no? Just like what were you feeling at the time? It would be very open-ended. And it's not about belief, but it's about the exploration of it. So in a hypnotic experience, there's relaxation. We do it with an induction, a progressive induction usually that relaxes you. And then a deepener that takes you a little bit deeper than the session itself. And then an awakening that brings you back up. So each, it's a very safe entrance into the subconscious mind. You're very relaxed and so forth. Becoming the observer of your experience, not going back, for instance, to experience it all over again, but going back as an observer to make sure that you don't feel trauma again or anything like that. So from the observer perspective, you witness your experience without reliving that trauma. It gives you emotional distance, clarity, and healing, and there's no judgment, only curiosity. So. Okay, age regression is revisiting that earlier time in this lifetime, where you can connect as a child or a younger adult or whenever that experience happened. And that allows you to observe the event with new insight. So, I think I mentioned this before, a past life is where you're revisiting that past life lived. And you're gathering an understanding of how the past life may affect this life. So the time between lives is about the time in between incarnating to your next life. And Michael Newton the author of The Time Between Lives, believes it's 20 to 40 years in between. And experts on reincarnation say sometimes 15 centuries. So I disagree with all of it. I don't know what's right or wrong. Time is not in that dimension, and to me it operates outside the earthly constraints of time. I don't think that there's a time. I think things can maybe even happen simultaneously and so on and so forth. So I disagree with what I have been reading. Techniques in age regression sometimes have a timeline. You might ride a monorail to go back in time, or have a safe container of imagery of some sort, or an inner dialogue with that past self. The emotional healing through regression that comes is really letting that inner child or inner adult who experienced this speak, letting them validate their feelings and questions that they have, and it fills in missing pieces of the memory. It integrates the experience, it brings back wisdom into the present, and understanding your soul's growth, and accepting the experience as part of your path. It's just an experience that you've had. So that reconnection to intuition often comes through the understanding a greater life purpose, or refocusing your life, and then peace with the unknown. So I had a client that came in, for instance, that was a young boy, and he saw a big blue light outside his window, and he went to the window and he saw a spaceship, and he watched the spaceship for a long time. And then when the spaceship left, he went back to bed. And then he heard something in the corner, and he looked in the corner of his room, and there was an extraterrestrial sitting huddled in the corner of his room. And he looked at it, was scared, and the extraterrestrial ran out of his room. But he watched as it ran into his parents' room. So he laid there scared, not knowing what he should do. He should go try and save his parents or tell his parents or what he should do. He was so scared he was frozen, he couldn't move. And finally, when he was able to move, he went into his parents' room and he woke up his mom. They were both sleeping peacefully. And he said, Mom, I saw a spaceship and a moon man. And she said, oh, you're dreaming, honey, go back to bed. And he said, no, Mom, I really saw it. She said, no, you're just dreaming. And he looked over in the corner, and he heard a noise, and there was the extraterrestrial who ran out of the room again and ran out through the door. And he was so scared he jumped in bed with Mom and Dad, and they just took it as this dream. Over the course of the next few years, whenever he went camping when he was as a teenager, he would go with a friend and they would have extraterrestrial experiences. And then he was with some guys having pizza one night, and two of them saw some red lights, and they said, come on guys, look at this. And they went out to go see the red lights, and they split up and became silver lights that sort of danced in the sky, and they all stood there and watched it. They called the radio station and said, hey, did anybody see this? And the radio station said, no, nobody's reported this at all. So he got married, had a couple kids, now is just staring at the TV set, drinking beer, disconnecting from his wife, disconnecting from the kids, isolating himself, trying to figure out what happened to him, all these different experiences that he had, why they happened to him. And when he did hypnosis, he came to the realization that these are experiences, but we need to live our life. We need to really plug into our life more. He had literally only taken his 19-year-old daughter out for ice cream once a year. And he ended up, after that, plugging into his family more, reconnecting with his wife even, his ex-wife, and living a better life. So I wanted to share with you what happened to me when I went back in and out of my out-of-body experience that I had. And I've never shared this with anybody again. This is the new one. So the first thing that happened is they took me up in space. They showed me the planet. They showed me Milky Way, all of the different planets in the galaxy. And what I got out of it was that Earth was important. And perceiving the world and our place in the world took me outside to see the planet, the solar system, the Milky Way. I felt a sense of importance of our planet. The integration of Earth as an important part of the universe. A feeling of it being special and unique and critical to the universal web of life in our solar system. That was the first thing. The second time They brought me to a place to show me immortal soul understanding. They showed me the transition of lives and the immortality of our souls. I saw portals, I saw committees, I saw the flow of souls that were moving in this process. They were ascending, sometimes up, almost looked like escalators in a fog, that kind of thing. I felt a sense of organization through the whole thing, that there was a high power of orchestration to it all, that it was moving with the flow of our lives, a sense of mission and purpose for each life and its connectedness to some important value of all lives and how we're connected. So, the last thing that I felt like I got, and the third thing, was that I was infused with a touch of understanding of deep issues in our lives and a bit of omniscience about the mosaic of the connection of life and a deep love for the diversity and uniqueness of life all around us. I started to see people as holograms. Part of this, I don't know if this fell out from my swimming with dolphins a lot. And the dolphins paid a lot of attention to me, and I started to see people after swimming with dolphins as holograms, and then see their faces of past lives flash before me, and what they were carrying forward that they needed to accomplish in this lifetime. And the third part of that is I was able to get the word. I always wanted to write, but a lot of times I had blockages and I just couldn't seem to write. All of a sudden I was unblocked and I was flowing as a writer like Stephen King writes, kind of more prolific than what Stephen King wrote. And he was known as one of the most prolific. So I had a sample case going back, that was my 3 personal experiences, but I had others that have come in, a childhood haunting for instance, that was revisited with agent Russian, and the message was symbolic. It was like an awakening of intuition. The client felt empowered and not afraid afterwards. The out-of-body experience during surgery that was revisited, they watched their own surgery, and details validated medically and spiritually, and it helped reconnect the client with a sense of life mission, reason that she survived on. And I had a sample case with an alien visitation memory process through hypnosis where they changed perspective from the terror of it to a cosmic curiosity. And the client developed a new interest in consciousness studies. And then I had another one that was probably one of the most interesting ones. He was with 3 other guys in a car in Ohio cornfield, and the car was elevated. They saw a spaceship. They were in the light of this spaceship, and a time lapse happened. And the next thing they know was their car was dropped down on the ground, and they all shook. And here's what was interesting. One of the guys in the front seat turned around and he said, "Never tell anybody about this." That was the first thing they said. And so they agreed right then, nobody tell anybody. But my client felt like he had a walk-in from that moment, and that was 1972. And so he always felt this presence of this walk-in. So I tend to not judge. Everybody has different experiences. And so when he came in, I said, "So what do you want to do with him?" He said, "I want him gone." I said, "Well, where would you put him?" He goes, "I don't know, but I just want him gone." So what I did is I took him to the upper levels, to the upper realms where extraterrestrials are, and he watched him walk away and join the other extraterrestrials. And he felt fine, he felt happy. So whatever worked for him. I had a client that came in, this is why I have the Grim Reaper up here. I actually had a client that came in one day who is his family is a billionaire, and what he's doing is wrong. He is doing something that borders on, I would say, human trafficking and so forth. And as he was going under hypnosis, his face changed and he became the Grim Reaper, the Reaper of Souls, and that's what I really feel like he was doing in his life. But there it was in this room that was getting darker. It was like 7 or 8 o'clock at night with just me and the Grim Reaper. So that was probably one of my weirdest experiences. By the way, he doesn't think he's the Grim Reaper. Okay. Benefits of the process: releasing unresolved emotion, making peace with the unexplainable, empowerment through understanding. And when to consider hypnosis for a paranormal experience: lingering discomfort or fear, or curiosity about just what happened, and wanting to explore your own deeper truth. So I think the important thing is that when you see a hypnotist to do this, that you make sure that it's a safe space for you, that there's really no judgment, there's respect, privacy, and trust are key. You are always in control, you should be in control. The subconscious reveals only when you're ready, what you're ready for. So it's not like you're gonna hear this wild stuff that you can't handle. Hypnosis is about inner perception, not outer proof. The paranormal experiences often exist outside logic. The goal is peace and understanding, not debate. And always remember that your experience is valid, whatever that no one else gets to define your truth. The journey inward reveals your being. You're not broken, you're awakening. So for final reflections, the unknown is not something to fear. Hypnosis and regression are gentle guides to deeper knowing and understanding, and there may be gifts for you within that mystery. So I want to thank you for having open hearts and minds today. And we welcome any questions and thoughts. I'm going to bring up my colleagues here, Ellie and Susan, in case there's any other questions. I'd love to answer any questions that you have.
Well, you can take shares if you want, you can just wander up there.
Everybody,
So I have a question. Okay, so someone can come to you with, say they wanted to do a past life regression. You can do that, or they come to you with,
Can everybody hear him?
or you come to you with, I'm good, or they come to you with a trauma of some sort, right? Alright, so if you're dealing with a trauma, and something, and you're in your hypnotized state, right? And you're trying to work with their trauma, but what comes through is another, a being of sorts. So, number one, I mean, you tell me
it
I'm
was
wrong,
like demonic.
but could it be a past life? Could it be an alien, or could it be a possession of some sort? And are those the only three? And if so, how do you deal with it in the session? How do you distinguish between whether this is a past life or if it's an alien or a possession?
Well, first of all, that doesn't happen every day for me. So, I have had somebody come in that felt or was fearful that there was a demonic possession. I have had that happen. That ended up
I'm
not,
talking about they're not aware of it,
Right.
they're just traumatized.
right.
And in the hypnosis, this other being comes through, what would you do at that point?
I'd probably talk to the being and ask them to leave. That's, yeah. I would.
So you mentioned about past lives, and I feel very strongly that I've had things, and how do you separate from the romanticism of what it could be to the reality? Because I feel very strongly about one thing, which is totally disregard 5 million other things. Why that one thing? I've had no connection, no experience, no influence, nothing. It's just I've always felt very connected to that.
What's the one thing?
What's that?
What is it? What is it?
A knight.
Okay.
A knight, like a Knights Templar or something like that. I'm devoutly Catholic. I believe it had something to do with the Crusades. I have no reason want to, because I think the Crusades were probably pretty bad, bloody, and most likely unnecessary, so there's no romanticism. I just feel strongly connected. I like all of the things connected with that life, but I have no reason to, nobody in my family does. It's just, I feel very connected, like this is what I should be doing, this is me, but no legitimacy as to why. But when somebody has that past life experience, do most people have that kind of strong connection to something that doesn't make any sense as to why?
I wouldn't say that happens all the time. Most of the time, people are just coming in that are sort of open to whatever, but that would be an interesting thing for the goal of it, to understand why that is. You can have any kind of a sort of request or direction that you wanna go, is you can ask that to happen.
Would a past life ever punch through to now? And
So,
you start
There
to
have been a number of cases where they have pointed out, I think one of the most, they made a movie out of it about the little boy that was the hypnotic pilot. Right?
Oh, yeah,
So-
yes.
So there have been movies about that, and even now with transplants, I know that there have been transplant experiences where the heart creates memory also. Yeah. Yeah, so I've been doing it for years, and I have never felt anything. I mean, I don't think it's done anything for me. So is it gimmick? Is it someone doing it wrong? So how are you using it? Is
So
it
it's just,
an audio that has a message in there, like less or something? Yeah.
kind of sort of, so
Okay.
I've tried doing, out of body, astral projections, those types of things. But I've never experienced anything that I've been trying to experience. And when I say I've been doing it for years, I've literally been doing it for years.
I don't think that's that unusual, and I'll tell you why. I think that it's kind of like when that event happened in Boulder for me. It's not like I was looking for that. I wasn't saying, okay, I want to do OBE right now. It just happens. I think sometimes you're just happening for whatever reason. And it can be anything. You hear something audio. I saw it happen to see my mother after she passed. I've heard my father after he passed. And so I think sometimes you're just tapped on. It's not that you can't try and do it. I know, Monroe Institute and everybody else trying to do this on and as a skill. And probably as a skill, if you keep working on it, you'll do it. I mean, I think that that's especially true with remote viewing. I think that the more you practice remote viewing, the more you're able to do it. So it probably is a skill that we all have. So I don't know the answer about subliminal. I'm not as covert as that. I like to be very upfront, this is what we're gonna do in the session, and there's no secrets that we're gonna do underlying it like that. So, Susan, or Ellie, do you have anything to add on in terms of past life regression or things popping through or anything like that?
I kind of wanted to go back to your comment. I feel like Colleen touched on, you can set an intention beforehand, but if you go in and you're thinking with your conscious mind about the night, once you come under hypnosis, ideally your conscious mind is no longer thinking and your subconscious mind is taking over. So you don't know what's going to come out. You may not even touch on that night. It could take, you could end up having this surprise other life that maybe makes sense to you after it comes out.
That's the part that seems so elusive, because the idea of a night seems very romantic. Why, how come I wasn't a plague victim? Right, which there was 1/3 of Europe got wiped out, but there was a handful of nights. But I'm just wondering, would that, because you got this inkling, does that make me a candidate then to hire you? To say, look, I got this inkling, I don't know why, it's not supported by anything in my life, it should make no sense at all, yet it does. Would that be, would somebody like me be a candidate to come to you?
Absolutely. So I think of it like this, we have a conscious mind, that's our logical, reasoning, rational thinking mind. We can do 4 to 5 things at one time. And we can talk, we can open the door, we can text at the same time, that kind of thing. After we do 4 or 5 things, we start to wait a minute, where's my phone, where did I put my keys? But our subconscious mind is recording thousands of things. It's where we store all our memories, our values of who we are as a person, and our special skills. And then we have our unconscious mind, which deals with the circadian rhythms of our body, our breathing, digestion, how many times our heart beats, how many times our eyes blink, our immune system. These are all things we aren't thinking about. So what happens during hypnosis is the conscious mind, let's say, is here, the subconscious and unconscious over here. What happens is the conscious mind relaxes. The subconscious and unconscious becomes hyper aware. And I say positive things to help you achieve your goal. Your subconscious mind goes, goes there, it loves the change, it loves whatever's going on, it comes back down. The conscious mind is kind of like the editor. And every once in a while when I have really particular client, they'll say something like, I was trying to work with somebody, for instance, that was fear of heights. And I put her on a pedestal, I had a superhero cape blowing, I was trying to make her strong and so forth. And she said to me, I wouldn't be wearing that cape. And I said, oh, what would you be wearing? And she said, I'd be in a gray sweater. I said, okay, you're in a gray sweater and you're wearing that superhero cape behind you. So she wanted to go ziplining in Costa Rica and she made it. But you know, I wanted to her subconscious mind, I'm telling her that what was getting in the way was her conscious mind. Would I really be wearing that? Or once in a while, I have somebody, I say, I might have 4 sessions, and they say, you know, Colleen, there was one word you used in such and such, and I wish you wouldn't have used that word. And I go, well, how are the other 10,000? That's what I'm, so that little editor was getting in the way, I'm saying. You know, I just had somebody that said, oh, you know, it could just be something so small. So, your subconscious mind gets it, it thinks in metaphors. So if you say something like, you're walking with deer, you know, your hands on the back of the deer, and you could feel their strong athletic bodies, you could feel their male pride, you could feel their pride in fatherhood, you could feel their connectedness to nature. You know, I want them to feel all that, I want them to feel that confidence in that. I want them to feel that primal animal thing. And we all need to do that, to tap into that sometimes.
Excellent, thank you.
Yeah.
Yes, no, thank you, actually.
When, cause me and my friends kind of trial and error with hypnosis, what are some tips for when say I'm under hypnosis, what are some tips for me to quiet the editor?
Just have to go a little deeper. So probably a longer induction would help you to deepener. Just practicing that.
Like, can I say that out loud, like, I need to go deeper, or
Yeah.
try to voice that stuff?
You can even say that before you start. You say, yeah, I'll be going very deep this time. Yeah. But hypnosis is a bit of a muscle. The more you do it, the more you practice it. So when I have students that are hypnotizing me, they'll say to me, you know where to go there now. And I'll just be there. So it's that easy. I did bring along a gift that I wanted
Yes.
to. I thought somebody today, are we gonna tell some stories? Are there gonna be some stories? I thought-
Yeah, at the end, yes.
Okay, whoever gets, you know, a good story or something like that, and maybe. Dawn,
Absolutely, thank you.
And don't forget missghost.com, please sign up, we'd love to have you on and let you know. Miss Ghost, MISS, and then Ghost, GHOST.
And by the way, make sure you stop by, pick up her
Oh,
cards and books and everything that's here as
no,
well.
you know what, I wanna give them books.
Okay.
This is a story I wrote, it takes place in Scottsdale, and it's about a Ivy League assassins who are setting up a whole new world order, and there's kind of it's mind control.
You're giving them away?
I am.
Are you really?
I
Here,
am.
I'll thank you. These are mine. Thank you, so hold on, we set them back here. So we got 2, and then 2 for you guys. Thank you. Thank you. And send some back there. And we'll keep handing them back there. Yeah, absolutely, no. Thank you. And I imagine you will autograph them as well. Oh, yeah.
Welcome, enjoy.
All right. So by the way, thank you so much. Guys, if you find yourself with a free moment, connect up here with Colleen. Morgan Carolyn is going to be with us next. We're going to be talking about angels for our next session next month. Again, 3rd Friday of the month. Mark it in your calendars. Same place. Again, great speakers. We're going to move on to our raffle. And for those, by the way, that are interested, that if they have an experience, maybe a couple, 3, 4, or 5 minutes, they want to share with the group, just come on up. You can talk to David or you can talk to Kata, and we would love to give you the opportunity to share that with them. But right now, we're going to keep it moving. We're going to move on to our raffle. And
Would you like that?
yes. Oh. Let me do this. By the way, for those that haven't noticed, on some of the tables we have our little ghosts. And I didn't do these, by the way, because I have no creative ability. But We don't really charge anything for what we do, but if you feel compelled to want to support us, it's always greatly appreciated.
Yeah, I did.
So we have our little donation bins that are on the table, and we also have our larger one.
I'll fix that. I think I
It
know
is
what's
out
going
here
on.
as well.
Okay.
So
That's
come on,
weird.
throw some food in there
Yeah,
before you
I have
leave.
to let
Again,
you know
greatly
because
appreciate
that's your
it.
business.
Underwrite our costs. We're gonna move on to our raffle.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Right now.
Um,
And you know,
Are
for
you a
that,
member of the chamber?
Morana.
Oh, Marana, okay. Not in Tucson. I heard Tucson had
we're just to downplay the opportunity
they
for
have
anybody to
they used to
falsify
be
the
really
results.
big.
Our guests always
big.
take some
The
time.
reason I
You kind
chose
of grab the
Morana is
microphone.
long term when it comes to commercial development. So I'm a business guy. So I'm getting a lot of businesses are going, and Morana's got this big plan for the next 10 years.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
They're building their infrastructure, right?
Yeah. They're building their own aquifers, so they don't throw out water. They're actually building out their own energy production to get away from that. So again, there's a lot. Now I'm trying to build out.
All right, here we go. Now I think you can hear us better. So for those that have gotten raffle tickets, please grab your one. We're going to go ahead and we're going to start drawing. Our first of the drawings, by the way, for those who've had a chance to see, it's going to be select draw. So before we were pulling individual ones, we realized that some people may have had similar things, or maybe it's not something you're particularly interested in.
Oh,
So we're going to go ahead, Colleen.
Wilmot.
If I could borrow you for one moment.
New office.
So get your tickets ready. Colleen's gonna pull it out. I'm gonna put on my spectacles. Well, they're gonna pick, so everybody's had a chance to see the raffle prizes that we have. If you are the winner, come up here, grab what you'd like, and again, we appreciate you doing it. Last three digits are 353.
Neighbor.
Last three digits are 353. Going, there we go, we got a winner right there. Head on up and select the prize of your choosing. Okay.
Sunrise and
Colleen, we're gonna grab another one here.
My neighborhood.
I live in York.
All right, hold on to your tickets.
How long have you
And we're looking for the last three digits, which will be
Is it nice
357.
Yeah.
Another winner here in the front, great. Excellent, thank you so much.
All
right, we're gonna pull another one.
Yeah.
We will go in the house.
And
Sabino Canyon and
last three digits are 360.
we decided not to.
360. Check your tickets. Oh, a winner here in roll number 3. Go on up and grab. And I think we have what, 2, 3, 4 months. 5 more to go.
Nowadays,
Oh,
we don't
6. We got lots of cool stuff, right? There we go. We're gonna grab again.
There's a lot of rain.
And 354. Absolutely. Again. Oh, come on. The girl next to you wins. I know. It's the luck of the draw, right? Okay, remember, mine is taped to the bottom. Okay? We covered this.
Speedway.
All right? Last three digits are 350.
Go drive racing.
350?
That's why.
No, we did
It's
not.
also
We did.
35 miles an hour. But everyone drives.
Yeah. He like bought like $90 worth of tickets, right? All right, I think we have 5 more left. Wow, thank you. Everybody's very generous today. Absolutely.
Texas.
We're gonna pull another one.
This is my 4th state.
Yeah.
And
We moved
364. Okay, good, because that table cannot win anymore. They're done. There's 0 representation of this side of the room.
But Peter's also
All right.
from Plano.
Peter, okay.
Grab one,
He
Okay.
comes to these groups.
and I believe, oh, that's really
Okay.
sharp.
Okay.
We have 3 more, okay. We're gonna take them. Your odds of winning are like really,
Oh, that's what
really
you
good
told me
actually.
before.
365.
Yeah, that's what you told me before.
365?
Before we
Going
left.
once, going twice?
Colony is tiny.
365?
121.
All right, we pull another one.
No.
We had our chance. Take a look at your tickets, keep them handy.
Legacy.
We have 372.
Yeah, that's all built.
372, oh, right there.
Now goes past Sherman.
Crest Hall and Jasper Navy Blue.
You were Sherman. It's like
I believe we have 2 left.
past Sherman.
All right, and then the next one is 342. Chelsea wins. That was not a plan, by the way. We're just buttering her up because we're gonna make her do all the crap we don't want to do. I think we got one more. Wait, hold on a second. Hold on. We have one more?
Traffic is much better.
Okay, one more after Chelsea, right?
Yeah.
And then it is.
All right. Okay, so it's our final prize, a DVD for Tucson Orbs, and the last number is 346. 346. And here we go. Last chance, 346. Going once, going twice.
Front, yeah.
No, don't think so. There we go. There we go. And 371. At least we got something out. 371. There you go. You get the DVD of Tucson Orbs, and thank you so much. All right. And I want, again, to use this little opportunity here at the end, because one of the things that we do try to do is create a nurturing space for anyone who's had an experience. In fact, we got one of our best conference calls sitting in our second table as a result of him coming up front and having a conversation about his experience. So again, it's not obligatory. You certainly don't have to do it. We would love for you to get the opportunity because this is a great space to do it. And Kata, let me get hold on a second, I gotta get my schedule back, so make sure I don't miss anything. And got everything.
51, wow.
All right, good. So our last opportunity, so we try to say, as I said, we try to save space for anybody who's had an experience. If you have, this is the opportunity we want you to share. Again, this is a nurturing space. There's nothing, you don't have to say anything you don't want to, you don't have to share names, you don't have to share locations, you don't have to share anything. But we do want to create an environment to give you the opportunity. So we'd like to try. Remember, you're at a paranormal event. So then let me show, let's try it this way. Who's had a paranormal experience just recently?
Scottsdale.
Anybody had something? Come on up, you get the mic. Well, see, Ray, what did I say? I said when you volunteer, we call you up on it. So again, you can make it as in detail as you want, you can make it as anonymous as you want, but again, we do want to provide an environment to give you the opportunity. Yeah, there you go. Okay. Go right ahead. Just started. You want to give some background, who you are, where you're from, maybe what your connection to the paranormal world is, would be perfect.
Yeah, I like to, I enjoy
Apparently there's
going
one
to
in
haunted hotels,
Phoenix.
Yes.
checking in,
There's one
and,
off of
setting out my audio
Valencia
recordings,
and
and
19.
just enjoying
Yeah.
So it's close by.
the bar.
Yeah,
and
it's
walking
closer.
around town.
Mhm.
Especially the
They have
Colleen
multiple
Hotel
locations.
in Bisbee,
Yeah.
Arizona.
But the one
And,
close to us on
The
Broadway
rooms, it doesn't
and
matter which
Cole,
room, second floor,
it's
third
more-
floor, it doesn't matter.
oh, better sauce.
Rooms,
Got a
the
barbecue
DVDs, they happen
Yeah.
in the lobby or anywhere.
We got
And
we
they
got all the
just
barbecue
use,
joint checked out in the
Voices
area,
just at
and
random,
but
and they
close to us
speak,
too.
they
We
tend
gotta
to
go,
say
yeah.
things that are like, they want to be part of the conversation. They'll talk, they'll say things like, my daughters and I will be talking, they'll say things like, in tandem, they'll say things like, oh, that's weird, like, we'll say.
And the EVP is perfectly normal.
Yeah, they'll say, like, I'll say, oh, here's my, shall I get my camera out,
So we
like
went
a
to
DSLR,
school
and they'll say,
upstate
oh,
New York.
photographer. I'm not kidding, and you would think it'd be a period
I
type
got
chatter, and
classes
it's
at
really
the
not, it's like they tend to want to say like contemporary, or they just like mimic, or they like come out of the ether, and they hear us, and they're like, he's born again, and they say like we are saying, and they join in, you know, and I do this, I get the dowsing rods out, because I do this like.
Right, we had actually one up there today.
Yeah, and I'll do the
also
paranormal type
Do you want to explain to them what a dowsing rod for those that may not know?
Yeah, you get them on Amazon, and it's turned on to them by Rachel of the Tucson, of the old Bisbee Ghost Tour. And she says, you know, when I went on her tour, these are dowsing rods, they detect
Yeah, it's in your
spiritual
and
energy.
their energy is
And
really
yeah,
strong.
sure enough, they do, but only once for me, ever. But it was enough to get me excited, and like, yeah, they really do detect, so I'm not kidding, I'm not even kidding. People, Bisbee is a very crazy town, I'm not even kidding. The feeling I got holding the rods in my left hand just took off and was like a vibration and a direction toward a stone. You know the stone, if you've ever been to Bisbee, that old museum that has those stones? In that direction, she said,
Hello,
point your
you grew up,
dowsing
we are
rods
old
toward
friends.
the
Yeah, little
stone
boy grew up like
here,
that.
that one of the stones, and I did
Yeah.
like everybody else in the tour did.
But they come around, they're still kind of on their patrol when they come around our
That
planet.
was switched on,
Yeah.
I gotta do this tour. So I did the tour like many times for the past 3 years. I've checked into the hotel many times. I do photography for the hotel. I do the Halloween party. It's so much fun. So much fun to go to that party, set up my recorders, check in, walk around, dress up like a crazy. And do this party. Go home, download files, and I find things. I got them, and it's like, yeah, they're happy people. They're good ghosts. They're not mean spirited. They're just enjoying life, or afterlife, I should say.
Yeah.
Really, honest.
It's like a rim shot time, right? Yeah, that's excellent. No, that's wonderful. Thank you so much. That's the reason we want to be able to do this, and we set aside some time towards the end of all of our sessions for anyone who'd like to share anything, because we've all had, or many people have had experiences, and I think that you were very accurate. It's like, who do I tell? Right? You know, I've seen something. Well, who do I tell? I've had this experience. Who do I tell? And that's one of the things that we've tried to do, is provide that, you know, for lack of a safe, you know, appropriate word, a safe space. So if you've had an experience, this is the opportunity. And again, one of the things that we often try to do is, you know, there's no evidence that's required. Anything that you share with us, we're not asking you to prove it. We're not expecting you to, you know, if you have a photograph, that's great. If you have a video, that's great. If you've got some kind of evidence, that's wonderful. But it's never expected. You know, we want to make sure that we, again, provide the space and the opportunity for you to share anything that you'd like to share. So if we don't have anything else, we're going to adjourn here a little bit earlier than normal, but go right ahead.
Are you looking for a paranormal?
I would love one. Come on up. You have a particularly good one that I've actually used many times. That actually was something found on the Catalina Mountains,
Hey Don,
which I find particularly interesting.
can you get the Bluetooth back?
Oh, you have the microphone, I think. Okay.
Okay, well, I'll tell a story relating to, I believe, Sasquatches.
There you go. You can hold this, no, use both, just kind of hold both of them close.
Okay, let's see, this was, one of my experiences that I had in either 2016 or 2011. And I believe it was up on the Mogollon Rim. And I'm not sure, but I think it was just, a couple of miles outside of Payson. But those kind of details, you know, get a little fuzzy over the years. But anyway, so it was before dark, after sunset, and I realized that, I'm gonna be hitting this next town a mile or two down the road, and I wanted to take a short walk in the woods, stop and take a quick walk. So I found a little side road, went down a few hundred yards or whatever to the dead end, and then beyond that, it's, you know, a road trail. And so I get out and I start walking, and I don't even get 100 yards from the vehicle, I would say. And I hear to the north of me, about 50 yards away, I would say, I start hearing bird calls, right? But, and there's several of them. But I noticed that some of them don't quite sound right. And so I'm standing there trying to grasp this and trying to discern about these bird calls. And so as I'm doing that, and I'm waiting, and I notice that the bird calls are moving from the north of me towards, this direction, right? And so they're getting closer and louder as they're moving towards my east. And by the time they get to my east, I notice that the loudest of the bird calls is obviously fake, extremely obvious, and it's getting more and more obviously fake with each call. And so I realized that something weird is going on here, that these bird calls are not real, and especially the loudest one was getting obviously more and more fake, obviously in a chanting way. And so by now they're to the east of me about, a good 60 feet or so. And so I'm like trying to figure out what in the hell's going on here, of course, and I can't, because I didn't have the knowledge that I found out later to figure out what was going on. So I'm there watching this to the east of me, these fake bird calls, and I can tell that, they're like taunting and, making fun of me by the fake bird calls. And so I'm watching, and then as I'm like looking at these trees that are about 60 feet away, I notice, and not directly, I wasn't looking directly at it, but I noticed next to one tree, from it came what I could only describe as movement of invisibility. And I realized that, oh my God, these things are completely invisible. And they're moving from one tree to the next, taking turns, going south now. And so they're still continuing the fake bird calls. And it's very taunting kind of thing. And so then they're starting to get more south while they're continuing the fake bird calls. And I can tell that, they're making fun of me because they're thinking, oh, this human doesn't know the difference between a real bird call and a fake bird call. And, and so of course it's making me angry, but there's nothing I can do about it. And so then they continued on south, and I wanted to try to continue to investigate it and, figure out what was going on. And I was just about to step into the woods to follow them to the south, but then I realized that, wait a minute, it's practically dark now, right? And I have no weapon. I have, and there's several of them. I figured out there was at least 4 to 6 of them. And so I realized, thank God, I look over and I see my vehicle is only like 75 yards away, and so I head right back to my vehicle. Well, many years later, I started learning about Sasquatch and different things about them, and I found out that some of them can turn themselves invisible. And not just camouflage, because they can also camouflage and blend in to their environment and look like a bush or a stump or whatever, something like that. But that's camouflage, that's not completely invisible. But some of them have the ability to go completely invisible, and this was one of those experiences where they were, several of them, and they were completely invisible to me. And I didn't have a clue, because back then I didn't know that they could do that kind of thing. That's just one little story.
No, thank you, I appreciate that. That will be. No, you're coming up next. There we go, yay! We have another big volunteer. Here you go. This one for the recording.
Okay, hello, great. I am a therapist, and I want to say thank you so much. So I came to Tucson in 2018 from New York, and I wasn't quite sure why I came, but I think it had something to do with a fellow who called me in August of 2022, saying, I think I've been abducted by aliens my whole life, or maybe I'm crazy. but I would like to go to hypnosis.
Those are your two options.
Yep, and find out. And so I was pretty thrilled, actually. And so he turned out to be a person of sincerity and modesty. And we worked for a year. And I don't know, maybe some of you know him because he's a Tucson native, but I won't tell you his name right now. He wanted to come here tonight, and he's dying to tell his story. So hopefully we will get that opportunity.
Please.
So we worked for the next year pretty regularly. So I ended up with 31 conversations with an alien, is what I'm calling the book, because this man is a hybrid human. What we discovered with him going under hypnosis all these times was that he had been, in fact, in a past life, never a human, but a gray. So when I took him back, he described the spaceship, he described coming to Earth 800 years ago and being looked upon as a god. Anyway, it's absolutely fascinating. And so I feel like that's why I came to Tucson, maybe, was to hear his story and help him.
Yep, nothing happens by accident.
Yeah, he first was abducted when he was 5. He remembers it completely clearly. You're nodding your head. Have you had that experience? Yes. Well, we have to talk.
You may have.
Yeah, and now he's 60 years old, and he's spent his whole life just feeling like, first of all, he didn't belong anywhere. He certainly didn't belong in the family. His dad would say, I don't know where you're from, but you're not one of us. Anyway, very, very nice fellow, and I feel like now we've had probably over 40 conversations. So the thing is, he's the hybrid, but what was really mind-blowing was that right away, I realized he didn't know this. I realized that I was speaking with an extraterrestrial who was speaking through him. So that's why I call the book 31 Conversations with an Alien. And yeah, we had to name him because I kept asking the extraterrestrial, what can I call you? What's your name? He said, we don't have names. That's a human thing. So we named him Fred.
So we
They travel a million light years and you named Fred.
He didn't care.
Well, I'm sure that he did. So anyway, no, thank you so much. I appreciate that. Any last, going once, going twice. We'll give you guys a last opportunity. It's constantly a privilege to do this. When we started, we're actually going, so August of this year, we started in August of 2022. And the idea was to try to create an environment for those that are interested in the paranormal and things associated with the paranormal, to have a group of people around them that will help them and develop and nurture and all those things. Which, by the way, in the UFO things, of the things we have planned, there's going to be a lot tilted towards UFO, extraterrestrial, things like that. And it's interesting, I am looking for a volunteer to possibly work with David either later this year or beginning of next year to start doing field trips. Because we're very close to a lot of, the whole Southwest is just riddled with opportunities, whether it's Roswell and how far Bradshaw Ranch is, not that terribly. Skinwalker Ranch, we can actually rent the ranch for the day. The same one that's on television.
No way.
Yeah. No, thank you. Well, I'm a capitalist, just like these people. I mean, the guy that bought it's a businessman. So, but the idea is that we want to try to do as much as we possibly can. Bisbee, by the way, was absolutely positively one of our go-tos. Everyone who's gone there said it was just rich with opportunity. Again, respectful. I always kind of put that caveat on respectful investigation. So if you know of a place, if you'd like to take a lead position, since you have so much connection with the Copper Queen, would you be able to reach out to us and let us set up a trip? We can bring in shuttles and you can get us access to the hotel and maybe utilize some of your influence that you have there to be able to get us access to the things that might be the most interesting.
Sure. Yeah, I could talk.
Thank you.
Yeah, no, please do. And it's not, I very, again, you promised and I have recorded it. So now I have it, forever. And I have, yeah, I'm looking at the video right now. It's this guy in the blue. But again, that's the idea. Everything that we've ever done has been because somebody said, hey, we should do this, or we have something great that took place, or I had this experience, we're gonna be doing some things. We're actually working with the Congress Hotel to allow us to do a legitimate seance. But there is a company that does seances at the Congress Hotel, but they do a reenactment of a turn of the century. So it's not an actual seance. It's very interesting. My wife and I went. It was really interesting, but it wasn't real. We want to be able to go and do an actual, real, legitimate one. So if you'd like to participate in that I'd love to be able to do that. There are, we have got so much, again, rich history in Tucson in this area, but what we need is many hands make light work. Literally, you're looking at the executive team sitting strewn across here, and essentially now, and of course with Chelsea's addition, we need other people to help. We'll do it. We just need another pair of hands to help. So if you wouldn't mind, maybe next week if you could see if you could make that happen. Was there any other locations maybe that we haven't mentioned that anyone knows of that they would like us to pursue?
Mount Graham.
What's that?
Mount Graham.
Nice.
Oh, yeah.
Mount Graham? Oh, up on in Colleen?
Safford. In Safford.
Really?
East.
What happened at Mount Graham?
That's where the Vatican built the Lucifer telescope.
They have an observatory there.
The what?
And they're,
It
they have their own observatory.
Well, I know that.
And it's designed to look for life on other planets.
Really?
That's what it's
It
for.
looks inverted though. It
Yeah.
doesn't see real light, it sees inverted, so it seems invisible out there.
I've been Catholic my whole life. How come I have never heard of this?
Just look it up. Just, you can go to Google Maps and find it.
Is it open to people? I mean, is it something we could go to?
It's one of the most holiest mountains with the natives.
Really?
They had a huge fight and went all the way up, I think, to the Supreme Court. They didn't want it built up there.
Okay.
Don't mention
There's cameras right there.
They'll hang up
It's-
on you and they'll block you and you won't be
Exactly.
able to get over.
Yes, I kind of have to remember that. Yes, I do. Yeah, but if you could write that down. We'll see if I can make that happen, because that would be very interesting.
Just go on YouTube and look at Lucifer telescope.
Okay.
There's plenty of stuff about it.
Now, is
Al
there,
Gore did a big thing on it.
is there, now, again, is there a paranormal, or is it just a telescope that's got a unique history?
It's supposed to be a stargate, and it's supposed to be a portal with the natives.
Really?
It's one of the holiest mountains in the whole Southwest, and they didn't want them building up there because it's a holy site for them.
Interesting.
And I think that's probably why the Vatican built up there, because they always build on holy sites.
So that means I have to go there, I guess. We just have to. All right, we got let's do one more. Do we have any other sites that we should be going to? I mean, again, you're our team, right? You're our group, you're our feedback, you're our survey thing. Anybody else?
Well, I'll just say this, okay, so you talked about doing a UFO
Yes.
hunt, so.
Yeah, we got one of the make.
So what we've been doing is at La Encantada.
Yep.
Which is apartments that, we go out there and do this UFO hunt behind the apartments.
Yep.
Okay, and there's some other people like Karen does her thing, sometimes there's some friends who go out to Sabino Canyon parking lot.
Yep.
What I'm looking for, if anyone has access to someone who has a house that's kind of out in the desert, like, only place I think of is like 3 Points or something like that, but somewhere it's in the desert, but not too far from Tucson.
Right.
Where we can all go out.
Right.
With a group of, maybe 20 people.
Right.
But yeah, and the reason I say a house, because so there'd be bathroom access.
Of course.
So some people have a
Right.
bathroom.
And I'll need a comfortable bed to
We
sleep.
have a spot. Yeah, but somewhere where we have open sky, desert area, and then we could all go out with about 20 people
Right.
and do a UFO hunt.
Right.
That way, I think that'd be a lot of fun. to do.
I think it's a wonderful idea.
We go bonfire or barbecue.
Yeah.
So if anyone has that sort of
I think that's
access
wonderful.
to something like that, let us know.
Yeah, I will tell you that the last 2 times we did UFO activities, we had success in catching stuff that shouldn't have been there. So, and I know that Karen, you've been very successful in getting lots of things here locally in terms of the last 2 UFO hunts that we did. So, I think it's one of those situations, if you build them, they will come. And our goal is to build them frequently. But if you know someone who has access to space like that, again, we'll be very respectful. If there's any costs involved, food or anything like that, of course, we would make sure we bring it. I wouldn't want to put any additional burden on anyone else. So, but again, bring that.
Real quick, I just wanted to bring it back to the hypnosis thing.
Yes.
If you guys had listened to my interview that I did with Don last month,
I did.
A lot of that was because I pursued the hypnosis.
Absolutely.
Years of therapy did jack shit for me.
Yeah.
And in fact, it was very detrimental. In fact, some of them were like leading me into more alien and demonic type things. Whereas I knew that it was my experiences with
The military.
military
Yeah.
contractors. But one session of that helped enormously. And going back to your connection that you might think you have.
Yeah.
I had one of those things that came out in a past life regression was a life where I was in Morocco, and I had this really traumatic relationship with the Crusaders that were coming through. My daughter was raped and killed by
Oh my God.
some of them, partially my fault. Boy,
Right.
I spent the rest of that life addicted to opiates and alcohol and died in a alley.
Right.
In this life, I had struggled with since or up to 2018 with opiates and alcohol, and going through rehab and doing that kind of regression helped absolutely enormously. And those things that you might think you have
Right.
connections to, like I had another one that was connected to Angkor Wat. I didn't know why until I did that. And but these are traumas that we hold that aren't addressed, that can be brought over to the
Sure.
life.
Just drag from one life to the next life to the next life.
Until
Yeah.
we recognize that and can do something about it.
That's wonderful. Well, I mean, I guess that's the legitimacy and justification for reaching out to Colleen. So thank you so much again. If you want to go ahead and pass those out.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, we're offering a special discount for any TPS
Yeah,
members,
definitely
so.
give one to me, so.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm not sure which one is which, but
Yeah.
just take one of each.
Yeah, that's fine,
I'll put about five.
and send them out. So again, just as we go in closing, if there's anything that we're not doing you think we should be doing, please tell us. Again, this gives us the opportunity to reach out, so now we'll get something for Bixby and a road trip on the books. I think that's very valuable. We still, we've got our goals to go to Roswell, Bradshaw Ranch. There's gonna be a trip to Sedona, which if we can work it out, we'll squeeze it this year. Again, if you wanna be part of the planning committee, or you just like to be involved as a volunteer, if you just like to go as a guest. If you're a volunteer, please reach out to Colleen. She'll make sure that she records everybody who shows some interest in anything. So again, one of the things that we always talk about is we're known by what we do, not by what we say. And our goal is to be the most active. So you're literally gonna see, probably starting in May, an event almost every single week of some kind. Again, you're not obligatory to go, but certainly take advantage of the ones. So you have last word, my friend?
If anybody wants to get the Tools for Freedom catalog for free, just come and copy down this 800 number, and they send them out like every 3 months.
Okay.
And it's got lots of interesting subject matter in there.
Excellent, thank you, that's perfect. And you can reach out to them. So, ladies and gentlemen, if there's nothing else, did we miss anything? Anybody have any announcements, anything we missed? Going once? Going twice? Ladies and gentlemen, we are adjourned. Thank you so much for joining. Oh, I like that.